Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Copy Corner with your host, Terry Schilling.
And Dan Marzullo.
Yes, this is our corner of the internet where we like to share copywriting and content writing tips for business owners, marketers, freelancers to help them stand out online. And today we want to focus on a topic for busy freelancers, Dan, right? And as you see here, we want to talk about how to effectively hire outside contractors when you're too busy as a freelancer. So there's times where we're drowning in work and we need extra help. How do we find those reliable contractors, right? Or if a past client comes to us and they want to work with us, but we don't have the time, but of course, maybe we still want to take on that contract. How can we bring on contractors to, help succeed and effectively deliver quality work?
Absolutely. And I think this is good timing, Terry, because last week we talked about feast or famine, right? So now we're kind of going the other way. Like last week was, if you don't have enough work, this week's, okay, you have too much work. Now what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, I've seen this pop up on like Reddit threads, and you had someone reach out to you on LinkedIn, and not a lot of people are talking about this. And it's like, how do I navigate this conversation with my client? Or, where do I go to find, reliable, talented, freelancers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll kick it off, Terry. Yeah, go ahead and give your best advice for this one.
Yeah, so my best advice to really get started with this is really just be honest with the client, at the front of it by saying that, I see that you want to work with me. I'm just letting you know that I have a busy schedule, but I do have a team of writers that work with me and that worked with me on the past. And so I can bring them on to help with this project. And then I can also, review it and make sure that I take some final edits. So we're working collaboratively as a team. And ultimately, Dan, this is a sign of growth as a freelancer. If you're, this sought after and you need some extra help too. It's happened to me where I've worked on a project and then they have a larger, content or deliverables. And so I'm able to bring on some more writers. But the key is to be transparent about that with your client, because they reached out to you to hire you and work with you. So you don't want to just like, yeah, let's do it. And then you're too busy and you get greedy, and then you just dump it to someone else and then you take the credit. You're basically marketing, hey, I need a ghostwriter right now for this. And let's say the client finds out, they may be unhappy with that. So it's always just good to be upfront about it as well when you're dealing with this.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, yeah, that's kind of what you got to do, right? You got to be upfront. Say, hey, I'm growing. My business is growing. I'm busy. It's not just me anymore, right? I've got this team, and we can serve you, but it's not going to be my direct work. And usually they're pretty cool with that,
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you market it like this is my team, and reach out to writers who have who you have worked with before in the past, and maybe work in that niche as well. But like, I know a great writer who works in the finance space. It can really help with this project as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Dan, that's my advice. I know you had some advice about, where to find and how to hire reliable contractors.
Yeah, definitely. No, I had a connection on LinkedIn ask, hey, that was her biggest struggle is, finding quality contractors that can actually support her clients so that, they're not like, oh, this isn't the same level that we're used to. Right. And so, my biggest piece of advice for that is find like a quality sourcing channel, right? Don't go looking on, Fiverr for $5 freelance writers that you're going to, that are going to produce this spectacular work for your high-end clients, right? So, so for me, and this is what I've kind of done over the last year that's been super helpful, is created like this little freelance hiring funnel, right? So, because you always need, as your stuff's growing and you always need new writers, kind of that whole HR recruiting and finding writers process is a lot of work and it's time consuming. So one thing that I do, which is super helpful, is, get on LinkedIn, right? Search out freelance writers, and then, save a handful, save like 100 writers on there, connect with them, and then view their portfolio, check out their work and see if, okay, is this, guy or gal a good fit for what I'm doing? Do I like his or her work? And if so, once you connect with them and they accept, shoot them a message and say, hey, I've got this email list full of freelance writers that I reach out to when we need new writers to help with projects for our clients. Do you want me to add you to the list, right? And if you're a freelance writer looking for additional projects, like obviously you're going to say yes to that, right? So get them on that list and then build up over time. If you do this every week on LinkedIn, finding more writers and adding them to that email list, you'll have this great database. So when you're ready and oh, shoot, we need a writer for this, you can fire off that email and say, hey, here's what we're looking for, shoot me back if you're interested. And then just like that, you can get these inbound people coming to you saying, oh, would love to help out, Dan. And you've kind of created this simple process. It's not going to take up, tons and tons of your time.
Yeah, no, I like that. And also just be wary too of just going on LinkedIn and being like, hey, I need some help on this project. Who's available as a freelance writer? Because then you could get flooded with a lot of messages, and people can find and do the research and find a personal email, maybe find your number and call you like, hey, I saw your post, which has happened. I've made that mistake. But again, like you said, go within your network as well. Reach out to, any other writers that you may know and be like, hey, do you know anybody who could help with me, or are you available? And that way it's just easier to vet a writer like that. And I always like asking for like a link to their portfolio and making sure that I can see work examples before I just say, oh, you can help me. That's great. Like, let's just do this. I need to see some of that work first. And, Dan, we talked a little bit, before we jumped on, you had some advice about going to sites like Upwork and Fiverr too, just in case, like if you're wanting to hire outside work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I think LinkedIn is my number one channel, but yeah, I mean, Upwork, I've found some writers on there as well. Fiverr, I would avoid just because it's usually, you're looking at $5 freelance gigs. It's so hard I've never found quality contractors there personally.
Yeah, I think it's just like being careful. Like if you want to find someone who's experienced and can help you, it's just, you're going to have to do a little bit more work on Fiverr and Upwork to find those type of writers. And if you just, similar to LinkedIn, if you just make a post, if you just put a job up there, you could get flooded with a lot of, copywriters who, maybe don't have the experience, right? So just something to be mindful of for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the last piece of advice for this is if you are a freelancer and you're really busy with work and you're bringing on outside contractors, is to make sure that then you increase your prices as well, because you want to make sure that you do earn a profit and that you just don't keep your normal rates and then you're having other people help you out. And then you realize, well, hey, I did not make as much money, on this contract as, I typically do. So, be mindful of that. And do you have anything else to add on that aspect, Dan?
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. I think that's the first mistake when, as a freelance writer that's kind of outsourcing and working with other contractors as part of a team, in the early stages, they forget to do that. They say, oh, well, here's my freelance rates. And then that's it. Right. And then you forget, oh, well, I need to increase those so that I can actually take some margin of that so I can make a profit for my time managing the project still, because you're still the project manager. But then also so that gives you enough money to play with to find other writers that are going to be a high enough caliber for what you need, right? It's so true every time. It's you get what you pay for, right? So if you can have more budget to play with to produce and just blow the client out of the water, that's going to be how you do that. You got to get those rates up a little bit before you bring in more people than just yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice there, Dan. And everyone, that's what we have today for how to effectively hire contractors when you're too busy as a freelancer. This is a better alternative than not having a lot of work. Is getting too busy or having a lot of people reach out to you to work with you. But again, just be careful navigating this and just be upfront, transparent with your client that you're going to bring on other writers, and then have a strategy in place to really find those writers. But Dan, like you said, building that list up so you have go-to people right away really makes that transition pretty seamless.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode of The Copy Corner. Love what you do. Proceed with passion. We will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening and watching.